It's a ring, 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 bang, yeah. 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 It's a ring, 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 bang, yeah. Ring, 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 bang, yeah. Ring, 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 bang, yeah.
Welcome to Radio Unfriendly presents Pure Rank. I'm Steve, and this is a podcast where I pick a band or artist and rank my favorite albums of theirs. On this episode, I will be talking about Chicago-based pop-punk band Screeching Weasel. First up, here's a little history about the band. It was formed in 1986 by Ben Foster, also known as Ben Weasel, and John Pearson, also known as Jughead. They formed this band in Prospect Heights, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. Excuse me. Originally, they were called All Night Garage Cell, and I guess eventually settled on the name Screeching Weasel. Since the formation, the band has had over 20 different members. The main constants of the band being Ben and John, but currently the only current member of the band is, of course, Ben Weasel. The band has been on several different record labels, most notably Lookout, Fat Records, and Asian Man. They released their debut self-titled album in 1987 via Underdog Records. It was recorded in one night for $200 in June 1987 at Solid Sound Studio in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And to date, the band has released 15 studio albums, 6 compilation albums, and a ton of EPs and singles. Now, in regards to my own history with the band, I've never seen them live. I discovered them not terribly early in their career, really. I was at a record store in Chicago around 92, 90. Well, no, it was probably 93. It was right around 93. Had to have been 93. And I picked up I was looking through, did I say it was Wax Trax Records? Anyway, yeah, it was Wax Trax Records in Chicago. And I was rooting through their local music bin and came across a 7-inch single of Radio Blast, which is that first song that you heard at the beginning of the show. And I bought that, and then I bought another CD of a studio album, which we will be talking about later when I get into my actual rankings. But yeah, it was about 93 when I first got into Screeching Weasel. And yeah. So I kind of count this band as one of my favorites, but to be honest, I kind of stopped listening to them regularly right about the time, maybe coincidentally, about the time Jughead left the band. His last album with the band was the 2000 album Teen Punks in Heat. but really I kind of checked out for the most part after the 1999 album Emo. I've listened to some of the newer albums that have come out since then, and there have been some good tracks on them, but overall they just really haven't been albums that I've really been like connected to or just really liked. And if I'm really being honest, to me, kind of their last quote unquote good album was Bark Like a Dog. And that was the last album that was recorded with the Ben, Jughead, Dan Vapid, Dan Panic lineup. But anyway, so Screeching Weasel. So without further ado, here are my top 5 favorite Screeching Weasel albums. At number 5, we are going with Wiggle. Wiggle was released in January 1993, originally by Lookout Records. The album was remastered and reissued by Asian Man Records in 2005. And then a vinyl-only version was released in 2009 by Recess Records. The album was recorded between June and August of 1992 at Sonic Iguana Studios in Lafayette, Indiana. It was produced by Mass Giorgino. And there was a song on the album that was engineered by Steve Albini. He engineered the album, or not the album, but the song Going Home, which actually only appeared on the Lookout version of this album. Excuse me. The lineup on this one consisted of Ben on lead vocals only. He wasn't playing any instruments. Jughead was on lead guitar. Dan Vapid was on guitar and backing vocals. Johnny Personality was playing bass. And Dan Panic was the drummer. A lot of good songs on this album. I'm Not in Love was a good one. I Was a High School Psychopath was a good one. Crying in My Beer. Joni Loves Johnny. Jeannie's Got a Problem with Her Uterus. And this one, Automatic Rejector.
Automatic rejector, season. Automatic rejector, go. He came up behind her and started grabbing her tits.
Rejector. So the single Radio Blast, which I played earlier, and like I said, that was the 7-inch that I bought. This was, Radio Blast was recorded during the sessions for this album. I'm not sure why they didn't release it on this one, but another thing I want to mention about the album Wiggle is that it has quite possibly the coolest album cover of any Screeching Weasel album. It's got the corporate guy tied to a block of dynamite. Very cool cover. A friend of mine actually had this tattooed on his arm at one point. It was quite an amusing tattoo. Anyway, so that's number 5, Wiggle, which brings us to number 4 on my ranking. Boogada Boogada Boogada, which was their second studio album. So, Booga da Booga da Booga was released in December 1988 on Roadkill Records, originally released on vinyl only. This album has been re-released by Lookout in 1992. It was later remastered and reissued by Asian Man Records, and then again reissued by Recess Records. So they released a vinyl version in 2008, and then on CD in 2010. This album is kind of where the band started showing signs of like their Ramones kind of inspired sound. Again, like I said, originally released December 1988 by Roadkill. It was recorded in October 1988 at Solid Sound Studio in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. It was produced by Ben and Jughead. The band at this point was Ben on vocals and guitar, Jughead on guitar, Steve Fish on bass, and actually I think his name was just Fish. I don't think it was Steve Fish. It was Steve Cheese that was on drums. This one also had, of course, quite a few really good songs on it. Dingbat to lead off was really good. We Skate, Stupid Over You. They did a cover of Del Shannon's Runaway. My Right, Nicaragua. The song Hey Suburbia, of course, which I played just a few seconds ago. And then another song called I Hate Led Zeppelin. So, funny thing about this song, it kind of inspired that and a article, magazine article, also inspired a post that I did on an old blog of mine. The name of it was 2009, I think, but the name of the post was Why Led Zeppelin Sucks. And yeah, it was some online magazine that kind of inspired that, along with this album, or the song rather. Also inspired quite a bit of commentary on that post. I remember that a lot of people weighed in on that blog post, but anybody who knows me knows I'm not a fan of Led Zeppelin, so kind of like the song. This album was recorded in 4 days. I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, number 4 was Boogada Boogada Boogada, which brings us to Anthem for a New Tomorrow. This album was released in October 1993 by Lookout Records. It was recorded in February and May 1993 at Sonic Iguana Studios in Lafayette, Indiana. Produced by Andy Ernst, Mas Giorgino, and Ben. And this album was also remastered and re-released by Asian Man in 2005. So This was the album that I bought at the same time that I bought the Radio Blast 7-inch. So that's kind of where my connection to this album is. A little bit of nostalgia, but also a lot of really good songs on this album. Anthem for Tomorrow is actually kind of a concept album for the band. It was touching on themes of paranoia and isolation in modern society. So kind of issues that are somewhat still relevant today. But a lot of good songs on this one. Band lineup on this one was Ben on vocals and guitar, Jughead on guitar, Dan Vapid on bass and vocals, and Dan Panic on drums. And there was a cameo on one of the songs. The song Peter Brady, Fat Mike did some backing vocals on it. Lots of good songs on this one. As I said, I'm Gonna Strangle You, Talk to Me Summer, Inside Out, Peter Brady, I, Robot, Every Night, Totally, Cancer in My Body. My favorite track on the album is actually, I guess you can call it the title track. It's called A New Tomorrow. So, Anthem for a New Tomorrow is number 3 on my ranking. Number 2 of my favorite Screeching Weasel albums is Bark Like a Dog. Bark Like a Dog is their 8th studio album. It was released in November 1996 on Fat Records. It was recorded between May and July in 1996 at Uber Studio in Chicago, Illinois, and was produced by Mas Giorgino and Ben Weasel. So Bark Like a Dog is actually the only album that ever showed up on a Billboard chart. It reached number 34 on Billboard's top heat seekers. So this album came out while I was living in Alaska. And my friend Cameron and I just kind of like bumped into it, so to speak, while we were at a record store in Fairbanks, Alaska, which was a good drive distance from where we were living. So we didn't really get into that town very often. But yeah, we were in there and we saw this album. And we were both, big Screeching Weasel fans. We were in a band together and we played a crap ton of Screeching Weasel covers. But yeah, after we got this one, Hammer and I, we played the shit out of this album. It's a good album. It's it's number 2, but it's very close behind the number 1 album. Amazing songs on here. As I mentioned earlier, the lineup on this one was what I call, I guess classic's really not the right term. I guess I'd just say it's my favorite lineup of the band Screeching Weasel, with Ben on vocals and guitar, Jughead on guitar, Dan Vapid on bass and vocals, and Dan Panic on drums and vocals. But yeah, they put a bunch of really great songs on this one. Cool Kids, First Day of Summer, Your Name is Tattooed on My Heart, which we just played. You'll Be in My Dreams Today, Stupid Girl. Lot of good songs. Here's another good song from it called Phasers on Kill. I had a hard time figuring out which clips I wanted to play from this album because there's a lot of good ones. As with the next one, but yeah, Bark Like a Dog is my number 2 favorite album, which brings us to my number 1 favorite Screeching Weasel album, My Brain Hurts. So, My Brain Hurts, the 3rd studio album from the band. This was actually the first one released on Lookout Records. It was released in September 1991 and recorded in July 1991 at Art of Ears Studio in San Francisco, California. It was produced by Larry Livermore and Andy Ernst. This album was re-released on CD by Asian Man Records in 2005, and then also reissued by Recess Records in 2009. The lineup on this band was Ben on vocals, Jughead on guitar, Dan Vapid on guitar and vocals, Dave Naked on bass, and Dan Panic on drums. As I said, third album from the band, usually the most well-regarded by critics and fans, and to date is the best-selling release from the band. A good chunk of the songs on this album were co-written by Dan Vapid, most notably Guest List, Fathead, Teenage Freak Show, Kamala's Too Nice. Really good bunch of songs on here. That song I just played was Making You Cry. That was the opening track of the song. Guest List was really great. Veronica Hates Me. A cover of a Johnny Nash song called I Can See Clearly. Cindy's on Methadone. The title track is really great. Really, I guess we could say like none of the songs on here are really bad. They're all really good songs. And picking a favorite from this one to play a clip from was very difficult, but I just decided to go with the song Science and Myth.
Believe that you're not alone, but you ought to realize that every myth is a metaphor. In the case of Christianity, history is a necessary. The spiritual matters are a place of history. The Buddhists believe that the functional aspects of a life are myth, while other religions use a literal code that built foundations in. See, if the world sees a myth as fact, then it's seen as a lie by the other half. That's the simple truth is that it's not a fact.
So that was Science of Myth. According to Ben Weasel, the song was inspired by a PBS documentary that he watched about professor/writer Joseph Campbell. Kind of got him interested in the ideas of spiritual beliefs. But really good song, as is most of this album. If you have not heard this album, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to tell you, this is kind of the, in a lot of people's eyes, kind of the definitive Screeching Weasel album. So it is really good. And again, it is my favorite Screeching Weasel album. So that does it for another episode of Pure Rank. Or Radio Unfriendly presents Pure Rank. And so I will be doing another one soon. I have quite a few other ideas kind of in the pipeline for new episodes and whatnot. But I'm not sure when I will get to them. But thanks for listening to the Screeching Weasel episode of Pure Rank, and go and check out the rest of our episodes. You can find those by going to bio.link/Radio Unfriendly. That link will be in the show description as well. And go and check out some other really great podcasts, most notably Punkalotto Pod, really great podcast, and One Band, Five Songs by Dave Brown, who was on my previous episode where we talked about the band All. And I will have links to their podcast in the show description as well. But again, thanks for listening, and hopefully you will come back next time. Take care.